Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'du. Welcome to a new episode of Islam. Today's topic of discussion will be centered around nikah fil Islam, marriage in the religion of al-Islam. Concerning the marriage, there are a number of virtues that can be mentioned. We'll start with the fact that when we read about the religion of al-Islam, we find that all of the prophets and all of the messengers were people who got married. They had wives. This is clear from the Quran that Allah has beautified to men. And men, it includes the good men and the bad men, the religious men and the irreligious men. It includes the prophets, and other than that, it has been made beautified to men in their eyes, the love of women and sons. A woman, and that companionship has to be one which is legislated and it is halal or permissible. So from the virtues of marriage is that the best of mankind, all of them, the prophets and the messengers, they used to get married. And as Muslims, we believe that Allah the Most High, He took Jesus Christ and He raised Him unto Himself. And we spoke in a previous episode about the life of the barzakh, and how the barzakh is that living that people have right now, like the prophets are living in their graves and they're praying in their graves. But Allah knows the reality of their prayer and the reality of that life. Because they are living, it does not mean, nor does it suggest, that a Muslim can go to the grave of a prophet and Allah knows best as to the reality of who's a saint and who wasn't a saint. So the life of the barzakh is something that only Allah knows the reality of it. Jesus Christ, Isa ibn Maryam, right now is living in the life of a barzakhiyah because Allah has raised him up to Himself, and He's going to come back down. And when He comes down, He's going to judge by the religion of al-Islam. He's going to judge by the Quran and the authentic sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When He comes back, He's going to do away with the swine. When He comes back, He's going to break the cross, which is a symbol of shirk or polytheism, and He never called to it, and He was never upon that religion of saying anything about the cross being a symbol of His religion. Necessarily believe this or disbelieve it, but it is mentioned in the Bible that it is said, whoever is crucified on the cross, then he is cursed. So I don't know, how is it conceivable that God Almighty would allow His Son to be crucified on the cross? Moving past that, the point that we want to make is when Jesus Christ comes back, inshallah, He is going to get married as His other brothers did from the prophets and the messengers. So in al-Islam, every Muslim man and every Muslim woman should grow up with the idea and the intent of one day getting married, because the Prophet told us in yet another authentic hadith, whoever has gotten married, he has been successful in completing half of his religion. So let him fear Allah in the other half. When a person to get a number of rewards that the person who was not married, he doesn't have the opportunity to get. The couple who's married, whenever they are affectionate towards each other, whether it's the small form of affection or other than that, whenever they carry on physical relationships, in al-Islam, that is looked at as being a ma'ruf. This is looked at as being something that they're doing that is acceptable in the religion, and as such, they will get rewarded for that. The mother, when she cooks, this is sadaqah that she's giving to her children. This is a type of charity because she's bringing good to other people. And in our religion, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, concerning a man who spent a lot of time in the masjid, in the mosque, he was praying, and the other people, who is it? Who is that man who's doing that? They said, oh, he's such a religious man, Ya Rasulullah, he's such a righteous man. He said, those people who are taking care of him are better than him. The best of you is the one who brings more benefit to others. That's the concept that's correct in al-Islam. So in this particular issue, the married man, the married woman, they're bringing benefit to their children. They're bringing benefit whenever the father goes out and he brings home the money that provides for the family, provides shelter, provides the food, provides the warmth and the clothes. all of those issues are considered to be a sadaqah or a charity that the father is giving to the members of his family. The unmarried man, it is not like that. We know certain scholars in the religion of Al-Islam, certain scholars who they never married. At the top of the list, those who come to mind, Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, as well as Al-Imam al-Suyuti, never got married. So if a Muslim is aware and he has acquainted himself with the history of these three tremendous imams, these scholars in the religion, he may say, I want to cut myself off from the world and I don't want to get married because Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah didn't get married and I want to be like him. We say, no, this is not from the religion of Al-Islam. It's not from the religion of Al-Islam for you to take them as your examples. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I am the one who has the most God consciousness of you people. And I fear Allah the most, better than everyone else. And yet, I get married to women. And I pray and I go to sleep. So whoever forsakes my sunnah, he is not from me. Whoever goes out intentionally to say, I'm not going to do this particular sunnah, thinking that it's okay for him to follow Al-Imam al-Nawawi or Al-Imam al-Suyuti, and he gets close to Allah by not getting married, this is a deviation. A deviation that Allah mentioned in the Quran about the people who came before us. When they're monks, as he said, they introduced and they created a deviation that Allah did not send down any authority for them to do so. So that's not the religion. The religion is the sunnah, the practices of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and not the practices of any Tom, Dick, or Harry from the people. It is the Rasul of Al-Islam. Another thing, to forsake getting married and he wants to follow one of those three imams. We say, do you know the reason why those imams didn't get married? Even though I don't agree that one of us should say we're going to follow him and not get married, but if you knew anything about the lives and the lifestyles of those three imams, then you would understand properly what prevented them from getting married. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah was in prison for a large portion of his adult life. In addition to that, he was busy either in the battlefield or riding throughout the Islamic empire soliciting funds in order to help the Muslims and to protect the Muslims, to pay for weapons to prevent the onslaught of the Tatars. Those imams were busy with knowledge, teaching, and traveling throughout the earth. So the person who says, I don't want to get married, and he's just a lazy individual at home, and of Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In addition to the virtues of marriage, it is one of the best ways that an individual could come to protect his lineage, to protect the nasl and his nasab, who he's connected to. We mentioned that Al-Islam came to protect 5 essential things, the dururiyatul khamsa. From them, Al-Islam came to protect the religion of every individual, came to protect the blood of every individual, came to protect the money of every individual, came to protect the intellect of every individual, and it also came to protect the actual lineage. So it's one of the best ways. Allah Ta'ala has described for us what is the role of the Muslim girl and the Muslim man when they come together. And he said, you men are a covering for those women, and those women are a covering for you. You are a clothing for them, and those women are a clothing for you. This ayat should be understood to mean, number one, marriage helps an individual to lower his gaze. He has someone who he can do with them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made permissible in terms of getting rid of the desires. From how we've been created is we've been created weak. The human being, he has what is known in Islam, in Arabic, as the shahwa, the desires. And so therefore a man needs a woman and a woman needs a man. And from that union doesn't have any desires. And he is al-ghani. He is not in need of anyone or anything. So therefore, to say that Allah has a wife or Allah has a son is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. As it relates to the man being the clothing for the woman and the woman being the clothing for the man, everything that clothes do for an individual, the husband does for the wife and the wife does for the husband. The clothes, they beautify you. So when a person is married, he has become a complete and a beautiful human being. The Prophet said, whoever from amongst you has gotten married, he has completed half of his religion. So let him fear Allah on the other half. So marriage opens up the door for him to complete half of his religion. The one who is not married, he's not a complete individual. In addition to that, brothers and sisters, the marriage as it relates to the clothing that has been mentioned in this ayat of the Quran, this verse of the Quran, clothes, so when the person has the ability and the opportunity to have a mate, especially a mate who they find mutual love and respect and reverence for, then this is one of the best types of warmth that a person can receive in this particular life that we live. So they are a clothing for us, and we are also a clothing for them as well. So marriage is from the sunnah of all of the prophets and all of the messengers, and it is one of those ibadat in al-Islam, or one of those forms of worship in al-Islam that should not be neglected. It should not be minimized. The Prophet came out to his companions one day, may the peace and blessings of Allah forever be upon him and upon his family members, and he told, "Oh young men, whoever from amongst you has the ability to get married, then let him do so. And whoever doesn't have the ability, then let him fast." We'll come back with the conclusion of this particular segment, inshallah, after our small break.
Islam 1101.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's episode, where we're talking about a nikah fil Islam, marriage in the religion of al-Islam. We've already mentioned some of the virtues of marriage, and we left off before the break by discussing what the Prophet said to the young people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He came out and he told the young men and the young women, "Oh, you young men, you young people, whoever has the ability to get married, then let him do so. Let him hurry up and do so. And whoever doesn't have the ability, then let him fast." Meaning of having the ability to get married, in this particular narration of this hadith, it means whoever has the physical ability to get married, because his wife, and in the correct way that the religion has informed us. As it relates to marriage, very quickly, inshallah, just so that we can shed light on this important affair, because there are different types of Muslims who are practicing marriages that are not permissible. And a person may get married the wrong way and he thinks that he's actually married, but in fact, he's committing fornication or he's committing adultery. And if a child comes out of that wedlock, out of that bond, then that child is really considered in al-Islam to be a child that is illegitimate, because we went about getting married the wrong way. We got married what is called the muta marriage, temporary marriage. It's not permissible. We got married in some places, they call it the marriage al-urfi, where it's in secret. So we want to explain what is the correct marriage in al-Islam. The correct marriage in al-Islam, the ceremony itself, and when we say the ceremony, we're not talking about a particular type of clothing. We're talking about when the marriage is going to be performed. It is something that has to have 5 things present. 5 things have to be present. If one of these 5 things are not present, then that marriage is batil. It is rendered null and void because one of these 5 things are not present. Number 1, from the conditions of marriage, is that you have to have the consent of the girl. No father can force his daughter. No man can force a woman to get married against her desire and against her will. So we have to know that the girl wants to marry this man. And her bashfulness, then that is considered to be her consent. Number 2, this is extremely important for you younger brothers, especially back in America and the United Kingdom. The second thing is that the sister has to have a wali, and the wali is her guardian. And the guardian is a man who is preferably a member of her family, like her father, her brother, her uncle, her grandfather, her son, someone who is going to safeguard and protect her rights before the marriage, during the marriage, and in the unlikely event of a divorce even after the marriage. And the reason why I said that the brothers from America and the UK and those European countries in particular, why this is important to us is because they're not Muslims along with us. So therefore, if a sister is a revert to the religion of Islam, she has to realize that she has to get a wali, a guardian, someone who is responsible for her. And that wali has to be a Muslim. If you are a revert and you don't find that you have any relatives who are also Muslims, then what you have to do is follow the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, the Islamic authority, the authority is the guardian for the woman who doesn't have a guardian. And that is because Islam has not allowed the non-Muslim to be over and in charge of the affairs of the Muslim. Al-Islam is uppermost, and nothing should be put over or atop of. Even if you have the Quran, it's not from the good etiquettes of Al-Islam because of this hadith. Al-Islamu ya'la wa la yu'la alayhi. Al-Islam is uppermost and nothing should be put over it. From the etiquettes, it's not to put another book on top of the Quran. We don't say that it's haram, anything like that. So we'll continue concerning the issue of the wali. The wali is the guardian, and it is his job and it's his responsibility to look at that particular person who's interested in marrying his ward. That's the second condition. The third condition that has to be present is and this is only in the religion of Islam. He has to pay her something that has a monetary value attached to it, inshallah. And it can be anything. It can be what he wants to give, if the girl accepts it, or it can be what the girl requests, or what her wali requests. But we like to tell every Muslim father, every Muslim uncle who's responsible for the girl, your daughter, and marrying her off, the goal and the objective behind marrying her off is to preserve her iffah, her honor, and to protect her in her religion. She is not something that you're trying to sell, so you're going to make a dowry that is of $20,000 in order to marry our daughter? No. So the religion of Islam tells the man that in order to marry this particular woman, you have to give her something that has some monetary value attached to it. The girl can forego the dowry if she wants, but the offer has to be made. Finally, the last two conditions that have to be present concerning the correct marriage in Islam. And if this is not present, then there's going to be a problem. That marriage is not authentic. It's not acceptable. And that is that there has to be two fair and just Muslims. Two differences in that marriage and over that marriage. So you're going to have these two people so that if there are any discrepancies later on, those people can be referred to and they can say, yes, I was present at the marriage of so-and-so and sister so-and-so, and therefore he is entitled to receive her inheritance. Or, yes, he did marry this girl, so therefore whatever other ruling comes from the religion of Islam, it could be established. So those are the 5 conditions for the correct marriage in Islam. We're going to stop right here to open up the door of discussion to answer any of the questions of the students here who are present with us. So if you brothers have any questions, inshallah, we'll start on this side today. Akhi Ahmed, do I have something?
Yeah, you have mentioned some of the wrong traditions that pertain to marriage, like large dowries, but some parents put obstacles in front of the guys who need to get married. For example, they refuse for their daughter to be married in a rented house.
Or the father or those people who are responsible for either the girl or the boy, if they really see that there are certain issues that the girl has that would prevent her from marrying and being successful in the marriage, or that the boy has that will be a problem if they were to get married, then by all means they have to speak up. They have to do something about that. But usually we find that a lot of times the culture is the main culprit as it relates to delaying the marriages between the young people in our community. This is not permissible. Marriage is not something that we should delay once we find two people who are compatible and they both have the religion. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if someone comes to you and you see that they want to get married to someone who you're responsible for, if you're pleased with their religion, then marry them. Because if you don't, there's going to be problems in the earth. There's going to be corruption in the earth. So those parents, they only help to create that scenario of corruption in the earth. So it shouldn't be done. So we're going to stop here, inshallah. We wish we could have gotten to the other students and their questions, but that's all that time allows for us in this particular segment. We're looking forward, inshallah, to seeing you at the upcoming episodes of Islam 101. Take care and be safe.
Islam 101. Islam